Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Where does Brooke stand when Ridge regains Forrester? According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge Forrester will take back control of Forrester Creations from Carter Walton. Because he believes that Hope Logan was the one who persuaded Carter to carry out this coup, Ridge is prepared to forgive Carter. What will happen to Brooke Logan as a result? Ridge Forrester thinks he was betrayed by Brooke Logan. Hope and Carter offered Brooke the position of CEO. But Brooke didn't agree with this story right away. When Brooke eventually spoke with Ridge at work, he abandoned her after she stood up for Hope. But all Brooke is doing is telling him the truth. Hope encouraged Carter when he came up with this concept. In an attempt to work on Carter, Brooke accepted the position of CEO. Brooke was aware that she could evoke strong feelings in Carter and help him realize the mistakes in his behavior. Carter even proposed to Hope that they apologize for this, and Brooke was able to reach him. Carter acknowledged the wrongness of the coup. Hope said that she would never again work for Ridge and declined to offer an apology. Ridge Forrester anticipates that Brooke Logan will place the blame on her daughter. Ridge wants Brooke to acknowledge that Hope took advantage of Carter to achieve her goals. Brooke, however, is certain that Hope only took the action she believed was required because she was fired from the company by Steffi Forrester, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, who had terminated her line. Carter and Hope were attempting to draw attention to the Logan's lack of respect. Ridge persisted in his argument with the point that Hope had cheated on him. Hope was approached by Carter regarding a romantic relationship. Hope didn't approach Carter or start the relationship. Hope backed Carter all the way to the end because she shared his vision for Forrester. But in the end, Carter betrayed her instead. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, where does Brooke stand after Ridge regains Forrester? Will Forrester still have a spot for Brooke Logan? Brooke has played a significant role in shaping Forrester Creations into the business it is today. Brooke has been employed there for many years, and a significant portion of the business is Brooke's bedroom. Regretfully, the Forresters don't believe Zend Forrester, Delon de Metz, despite his attempts to persuade them that Brooke has been working for them rather than against them. Will Ridge understand that Brooke is being truthful with him and that she was the one who reached Carter? Given that Ridge is currently seeing Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, it doesn't seem plausible that Ridge will think Brooke was attempting to assist. Like Hope, Brooke is likely to struggle to obtain employment. Will Brooke's acceptance of the CEO position ever be forgiven by Ridge? Carter and Finn were overcome by a sense of shame so intense that it threatened to destroy the very foundations of their identities amid the maze-like hallways of Forrester Creations, where every choice is evaluated against a history built on ambition and treachery. Both men had spent years navigating the perilous seas of personal shortcomings and corporate intrigue, with each stop along the way involving concessions made in the name of success and survival. The cumulative weight of unsaid regrets and covert betrayals, however, came together in a moment of unwavering self-reckoning that left them both struggling for relief as the unrelenting toll of past wrongdoing started to become apparent. Once known for his unwavering will and razor-sharp strategic thinking, Carter now experienced the nagging pain of regret that echoed in every boardroom meeting and every lonely evening spent reading over paperwork that detailed the results of snap decisions. The faces of people he had harmed and the silent charges that echoed through the halls of power he once controlled now plagued the brilliant tactician who had built his career on calculated risks and unrelenting ambition. He was reminded that the cost of ambition was measured in broken trust and the irreversible degradation of personal integrity by every memory of a lost chance for honesty and every instance in which the lure of power had triumphed over his moral compass. Finn also suffered from the agony of guilt, which showed up as an ongoing internal conflict between the need to maintain his meticulously crafted facade and the insurmountable weight of the realities he had long concealed. A sense of deep disillusionment that gnawed at him from within had slowly crept into his life, which had formerly been characterized by the magnetic appeal of a man who could win over even the most heartless people. Finn would relive his past in the quiet of his private quarters late at night, replaying every choice he had made, every secret he had held, every betrayal he had committed, in a cycle of regret that made him doubt not just his own value but also the essence of the legacy he had worked so hard to preserve. A constant reminder that every lie and every act of deceit, no matter how small at the time, had added to a mosaic of broken promises that now threatened to consume him completely. The shadow of guilt hovered over him. He had to face the painful truth that his unrelenting quest for control had cost him dearly. The internal struggle was both debilitating and unavoidable. Together, Carter and Finn's guilt became a silent, all-pervasive force that affected every part of their lives, including how they interacted with their families, co-workers, and even themselves. Their internal suffering stood in sharp contrast to the calm exteriors they were supposed to present in the formal yet aloof environment of Forrester Creations, where every handshake betrayed a possible betrayal and every smile betrayed hidden agendas. While Finn was plagued by visions of missed opportunities, irreversibly damaged trust, and the silent faces of people who had once believed in him, Carter's nights were filled with the echoes of regret, a symphony of remorse that played in tandem with the ceaseless hum of the city below. The guilt was more than just a passing feeling, it was a pervasive shadow that influenced every choice they made, transforming even the most straightforward ones into painful conundrums that may lead to even more self-destruction. The two men struggled with the fallout from a life characterized by compromise in both quiet offices and boardrooms. Once approaching every task with the accuracy of a master strategist, Carter now wondered if the sacrifices he had made out of desire were worth the irreparable harm they had done to his spirit. His formerly unwavering self-assurance had given way to a painful and humble vulnerability, a realization that the empire he had contributed to was now tarnished by the consequences of his own wrongdoings. The incessant loop of regret made him question whether atonement was even possible, and every choice that had before seemed so obvious and essential now seemed to be flavored with the bitter taste of regret. In the same way, Finn's internal conflict intensified every day. His charm had always been his greatest strength, but now the invincibility he had so meticulously cultivated was crumbling beneath the constant weight of guilt. The more he attempted to suppress the truth, the more it grew inside of him until it became an indisputable force that had to be acknowledged. When Finn found himself alone, he had to face the numerous ways that his behavior had weakened trust, which left him feeling alone, haunted, and completely overwhelmed by the extent of his own shortcomings. Each memory of unfulfilled promises and the silent charges of people he had harmed reverberated in his head like an unrelenting chorus, serving as a sobering reminder that the price of his ambition had been paid not just in missed chances but also in the core of his personality. Their public personalities and their guilt interacted to produce a duality that was both tragic and revolutionary. Carter and Finn were viewed by the Forrester family and the bold and the beautiful community at large as strong individuals who could lead the business through even the most trying circumstances. However, beneath that well-maintained facade was a whirlpool of remorse and insecurity, a concealed weakness that might topple all they had laboriously constructed. Though it frequently paralyzed them with grief, their common shame served as a catalyst for introspection and had the capacity to spark a path toward personal atonement. It seemed as if each agonizing recollection, whispered secret, and moment of regret served as a springboard for a future in which the wounds of the past might eventually be replaced by the promise of healing, that is, if they had the guts to confront the reality and restore the trust that had been so brutally broken. Carter and Finn were engaged in a silent conflict with the ghosts of their pasts in the quiet hallways of their personal lives, where the glitzy exterior of Forrester Creations gave way to the unadulterated, unfiltered reality of their deepest interior conflicts. They each tried to balance their public personas with the inner truths that plagued them. The weight of their shame showed up in sleepless nights and the gradual, grinding passage of time. This was a painful but essential process for Carter, as it required him to re-examine the decisions that had caused him to compromise the same principles he once believed in. For Finn, it was a voyage of introspection, an unwavering pursuit of knowledge about how his unrelenting ambition for achievement had resulted in morally dubious moments that now loomed large over his future. Together, their hardships created a regretful tapestry that was intricately woven with the strands of ambition, treachery, and the relentless quest for power. This tapestry depicted two men who, in spite of their appearances, were incredibly flawed and human, each carrying a guilt that would not go away. But even in the midst of this extreme hopelessness, there was a glimmer of hope for redemption, the idea that the same guilt that had previously paralyzed them could also act as a catalyst for change. Although the path to forgiveness would be lengthy and difficult, both for themselves and the people they had hurt, the seeds of a fresh comprehension of what it meant to be genuinely responsible for one's actions were planted deep within their remorse. During silent times of introspection, when the world weighed heavily on them and the voices of their past reverberated through the deserted corridors of their personal havens, Carter and Finn started to see that by accepting the whole, agonizing reality of what they had done, they might one day restore not only the broken confidence of the people they had deceived, but also the broken remains of their own self-worth. The way to redemption was paved not with denial and avoidance, but with the bravery to face one's deepest failures and the will to learn from them, no matter how painful the lessons might be. It was a realization as daunting as it was important. The internal conflicts of Carter and Finn are a powerful reminder of the price of power and the long-lasting effects of guilt in the grand tapestry of Bold and the Beautiful, where every scandal, betrayal, and act of ambition is magnified into a spectacle of intense emotion and unrelenting drama. Their path, which is characterized by the constant struggle between the need for personal grandeur and the weight of moral compromise, perfectly captures the essence of human weakness, which, when accepted, can serve as a springboard for eventual recovery and redemption. The burden of their guilt has been a double-edged sword for both men. It has motivated them to reach new heights, but it has also left them alone in the icy light of introspection, plagued by the ghosts of every decision they have taken in the name of a dream that now appears to be both elusive and tragic. Therefore, Carter and Finn were left to traverse a perilous path, one where every step forward was burdened with memories of the past and every moment of success was tempered by the profound realization that the price of ambition is, ultimately, measured in the quiet moments of guilt that echo long after the applause has faded, in the echoing silence of their private despair, while the lights of Forrester Creations continued to shine on the outside world. Poppy's guilt, Daphne's new strategy, and Steffi's discovery. Finally, here is the Bold and the Beautiful recap for Monday, February 24, 2025. Steffi Forrester Finnegan discovers the truth in today's episode. Penelope Poppy Nozawa is overcome with remorse. Additionally, Daphne Rose employs a novel strategy against Carter Walton. Check out our B&B spoilers for next week here. The unfinished story of John Finnegan. Steffi keeps discussing how Poppy exploited Finn in the Cliff home. Steffi feels relieved that the incident didn't have any long-term effects. Finn acknowledges that there is another side to the story. There is a second part. After his night with Poppy, Finn explains, she became pregnant. But Poppy disputed that Finn was the owner of the infant. Steffi believes that Poppy did not keep the child. Steffi is perplexed when she is corrected. When Steffi learns that the baby is real, she questions whether they ought to find the child. Perhaps the child is curious about their father? According to Finn, she does. The finding of Steffi Forrester Finnegan. He continues by explaining how Lee Finnegan tested Jack Finnegan's and Tom Starr's livers for DNA. Steffi finally understands, Luna Nozawa is Finn's child. Steffi screams out loud. The new strategy of Daphne Rose. Carter is eating by himself at Il Giardino. Daphne sits down with Carter, who can smell her. Regarding Carter's encounter with Ridge Forrester, the nose inquires. Though she inquires about the price, Daphne believes Carter will be successful in the company. Carter isn't the type of man who exchanges his morals for cash, according to Daphne. Carter has constructed gates, but she can see past them, Daphne continues. Guilt of Poppy Nozawa. Poppy is sipping wine at Il Giardino in today's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. Because of Luna, Kimberlyn Brown's character Sheila Carter Sharp believes she is drinking alone. Poppy feels a great deal of guilt. Sheila says that Steffi is being targeted by Luna. Luna set her up, but Poppy still wants to forgive her. Sheila mentions the close bond between mother and kid. Sheila and Finn share that bond. Poppy acknowledges that she feels uneasy when she hears Sheila discuss Finn. Must read, The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Wyatt Spencer's comeback, assists Hope, makes friends with Luna, and protects Bill. Poppy will never know Finn as well as she does, according to Sheila. Poppy spills her drink. Sheila vehemently expresses her desire to have a relationship with her grandchild. Poppy almost trips and falls. February 24, 2025, Monday. Remy Price remembers that Luna killed people over at Bill Spencer's estate. Remy questions why Luna isn't incarcerated. Luna clarifies that she is under home arrest. Bill is just a friend, but he gets her more than her own mother, Luna continues. Luna admits to being lonely and bored. Talking to strangers is dangerous, according to Remy. Luina makes a joke about having to kill him if he tells anyone. Steffi's screams bounced off the aged stone walls and shattered the eerie silence of the ancient mansion. They mixed with the unrelenting roar of the ocean far below, resonating through the cliff house like a banshee's cry carried on a stormy wind. Every area of the grand old house, its high, vaulted ceilings, its narrow, shadowed hallways, and the expansive, forgotten rooms lined with memories of glory and grief, became a stage for Steffi's unbridled anguish in that enormous, remote mansion perched high on a rugged cliff overlooking a turbulent sea. The cliff home had long been a silent observer of the Forrester family's secrets, a storehouse of unspoken plots and unsaid grief, but on this fateful night, it took the full toll of one woman's betrayal and heartache. Steffi's life had been a never-ending battle against the waves of power, treachery, and personal tragedy, but she had reached a breaking point where her carefully preserved serenity could no longer hold the weight of her unsaid grief. Her cry, which was both a lament for the dreams that had been dashed and a defiant rejection of the injustices that had long festered in the shadows of her existence, caused the mansion's worn corridors, which had once been crowded with quiet conversations and discreet glances exchanged in moments of delicate intrigue, to tremble. Steffi found herself alone in a large, empty room that had previously been the center of family gatherings in the murky, flickering light of a rainy evening, with rain beating against leaded glass windows and lightning momentarily revealing the elaborate features of the estate's ancient decor. Now it was her own arena of hopelessness. Every note was a painful tribute to the deep-seated scars inflicted by individuals she had once trusted fully, and each echoing scream carried the weight of years of treachery. As though the house itself were grieving with her, sharing in the enormous sense of loss that had come to characterize this lonely, terrifying moment, the sound bounced off the cold stone and bounced from wall to wall. The cliff house's grandeur, the sweeping staircase, the gilded mirrors that once reflected smiles and camaraderie, and the luxurious draperies that framed the windows, became a mausoleum of memories in that moment. Each artifact served as a reminder of a past full of broken promises and relationships that had fallen apart due to ambition and dishonesty. Steffi's agonized sobs were not impulsive or haphazard, rather, they were the result of a protracted, agonizing journey filled with unresolved grievances and unhealed wounds. Her journey to this night had been filled with many silent agonies, nights spent awake, gazing into the night, plagued by the echoes of betrayal and the icy callousness of those who had let her down. She was forced to face the unpleasant realities of her life in the remote and majestic cliff mansion, which served as both her haven and her jail against the backdrop of a stormy night. As though nature itself were resonating with the battle that waged inside her heart, every thunderclap outside emphasized the intensity of her inner torment. She thought back to the numerous occasions when her attempts to keep a broken world together had been met with more letdowns, when the assurances of love and loyalty had turned into sour memories, leaving her feeling alone and abandoned. Her cries also had a deeper, more metaphorical resonance as they reverberated around the expansive estate. From the suffocating demands of the Forrester legacy, from the never-ending cycle of betrayal that had undermined her trust, and from the eerie recollections of a time when she had thought that love and loyalty could overcome even the most difficult obstacles, each cry was a fervent cry for freedom. Her shout was so loud that it shook the cliff house's foundations, as though every repressed emotion and every silent minute of pain were being released in a cathartic explosion. Once a source of pride and inspiration, the mansion's illustrious past was exposed in that reverberating pandemonium as a mosaic of regret and lost possibilities. Its elaborate chambers now functioned as mausoleums for ambitions lost to the passage of time and the unrelenting march of human disillusionment. The cliff house's isolation from the unrelenting echoes heightened the moment's unadulterated vulnerability. Steffi, who was often so calm and focused, was reduced to an unrestrained emotional state. Her face, which was occasionally lit by the unpredictable flash of lightning, was etched with the scars of a life tainted by treachery. Each sob was a call for atonement, and each tear was a monument to the anguish of broken trust. There was an almost palpable sense of hopelessness that appeared to permeate the very structure of the home as the old walls, which had held the murmurs of many centuries, suddenly echoed with the distinct sound of her anguish. With all of its grandeur and history, the home seemed to have turned into a mirror reflecting the inner despair of its current occupant, a stark and uncompromisingly honest portrayal. The relationship between the outside environment and her inner condition became incredibly clear to her at that moment of extreme sadness. The storm outside raged on, the winds howling like malevolent spirits and the rain beating relentlessly against the stone facade, erasing the last of the day's ephemeral illusions. Every heartbeat Steffi made and every outburst of her agonized cries served as a repetitive reminder of the unrelenting passage of time, a time during which her dreams and hopes had gradually faded away, much like the fragile carvings on the worn walls of the cliff home. With its expansive perspective of a raging sea and its location on the edge of the world, the mansion appeared to represent the dichotomy of beauty and tragedy, its breathtaking surroundings standing in sharp contrast to the inner sadness that now engulfed its lord. A visually and emotionally striking image that captured the core of Steffi's psychological collapse was produced by the dramatic interplay between the elements, the rage of the storm outside and the raw, unfettered feeling inside. But there was also a pulse of change underlying the chaos of her sobs. Because even as her screams echoed through the cliff house's ancient halls, they also marked the start of a painful but essential process of release, a shedding of the weight of past hurts and the first step towards a protracted, difficult healing journey. Even if each scream was the result of sorrow, they also held the possibility of rebirth, a painful admission that the only way to go forward was to escape the bonds of deceit and treachery that had imprisoned her for so long. She experienced catharsis, a clearing of the air that left wounds but also opened the door to the prospect of self-discovery and redemption, when she expressed her feelings at that crucial moment, unfiltered and unfiltered. The effect of her screams was only one aspect of the significance of that night in the cliff home. It turned into a pivotal milestone in Steffi's story, one that would be remembered for both the intensity of her desperation and the ferocious will it gave her to take back her identity. Her outburst left an enduring impression on the hearts of all who watched it, even when the storm passed and the mansion resumed its peaceful, solemn routine in the days and weeks that followed. The Forrester family's conversations, which had previously been characterized by circumspect politeness and hesitant optimism, suddenly had a more urgent tone as the moment's unvarnished honesty made everyone face the agonizing facts that had long been disregarded. Whispered conversations and heartfelt admissions started to surface in the estate's secluded nooks, each one a tiny step toward admitting the profound scars caused by years of unsaid pain and quiet betrayals. The catharsis of that night was both a comfort and a weight for Steffi herself. It was a strange combination of relief at having finally spoken her suffering and a sobering recognition that the path to recovery was a long and uncertain one. Her cries, which at one point seemed to be the end of the world, gradually turned into the beginning of a process of transformation and an unadulterated vow that she would no longer let the ghosts of her past control her destiny. The cliff house's reverberating hallways, which captured the raw power of that moment, served as a reminder that the road to renewal frequently starts with the dismantling of the old self, a readiness to face the inner darkness and come out of it scarred but determined, prepared to start over from the ashes of despair. The cliff house stood as a mute testament to the resilient spirit of a lady who, despite the complete destruction, refused to give in to her own grief as the night gave way to the hesitant light of dawn. Even in the face of terrible loss, there is always the possibility of rebirth and transformation. The echoes of her screams, which lingered in the crisp, early morning air, were a monument to the human spirit's unbreakable resolve. Steffi's journey, characterized by that night of unrelenting agony, would forever be a defining chapter in the story of the Forrester legacy, a chapter that emphasized the profound truth that sometimes we can only start the difficult process of rebuilding our shattered selves and creating a future where hope, no matter how fragile, ultimately prevails, when we allow ourselves to be completely vulnerable and let our pain ring out into the void.